Hello, John. Hello. That's actually a Zoom code, and you must be calling to get on the Zoom. It's a Zoom code. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Bye. Another person called thinking they were getting on we're live on, whatchamacallit it?
YouTube.
YouTube?
Yeah, we are. We're live on casting. 18 people waiting. Should we let them in?
Yeah.
Okay. In.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be tuning in here today, this Friday, the 14th day of January. We're halfway through. Let me mute everybody here. Okay, sounds good. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Excited to be with you here this Friday morning, the 14th day of January for this Fireside Chat. Can you believe it? We are halfway through the first month of the year, almost halfway through the first month of the year. And this month will be history in another 15, 16 days. So crazy just how incredibly fast time flies, but it's excited to be with you here this Saturday or this Friday morning for the Fireside Chat. The topic today, which I really think we could have a great discussion on, which is branding. Okay, personal branding. How do you want to brand yourself? And so we're going to talk about that. And before we jump into that, I want to just, remind everyone, what we talked about last week and what we talked about right before the end of the year. And that is your personal goals. So many times it's like anything, right? If you don't stay on it, if you're not constantly keeping it at the forefront of your thoughts, pretty soon you just let it slip. You let it slip. And, we all do this. And we have to make a conscious effort to keep what we really want, what our goals are, what we want to accomplish, what drives us. We need to keep that at the forefront of our thoughts because, if we let it slip for a day or two, pretty soon it's a week or so. And the next thing you know, it's a distant memory. And we're like, you know what, I'll give it a shot next year. Right. So just remuting everybody. So just wanted to remind everybody how incredibly important it is. If you haven't done it already, to get your goals, your why, what you really want in your life to be. And I always talk about making it big, stretch yourself, design your perfect life. And it's just incredibly, incredibly powerful. When you take and read that every day, reconfirming that, stimulating that emotion, that feeling that you had when you initially established those goals, those New Year's resolutions, whatever it is that you want, and deeply embed it into your subconscious to let it go to work. As Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind can conceive, and believe it can achieve, right? And part of it is right there. You said what he said, whatever the mind can conceive, but the most important part is believe. And that's why it's so important, that narrative that you constantly, they always say, be careful, about your self-talk because you're listening. Your self-talk, you're actually listening to your self-talk. And if you have, the wrong self-talk, you're going to get the wrong results because whatever we're thinking about is not. Earl Nightingale talks about in The Strangest Secret. He says, we are what we think about. And if you don't like what you are, if you don't like what you have, if you don't like where you're going, if you don't like what's happening in your life, you need to be thinking about what you're thinking about, right? Because you're manifesting that. So also incredibly important. So with that, got a chance to get a few more people on here. We're going to jump in to our topic here today, which is branding, right? And so the first question, and what I want to do is I want to go through some notes that I have here, on branding, to kind of get you guys thinking. And then I'd love to hear your input what you're doing, what your thoughts are on this. So the first question I want to ask you as it relates to branding, right, is to think about this a little bit. What do you stand for and what do you stand against, right? I mean, what do you stand for? What do you stand against? What are you really, really passionate about? Something that when you think of yourself or when others think of you, that you stand for something, right? I mean, you have this. It's it's something you really feel deeply about. What do you stand for, right? So, taking a moment and going through that exercise to think about that, what do I stand for? And then the flip side of that is, what do I stand against, right? What do I stand against? What is just, against who I am, something you're not going to allow, something you're not going to put up with, something that you're not going to associate yourself with. So I think it's a really, really thought-provoking question when it comes to branding, because if you look at the people that have really branded themselves, they stand for something. And, maybe not speak out, but they also, just their brand, their character, stand against something. So think a little bit about what that is. And then the other thing I want you to think about is how you want to be perceived, right? I mean, how do you want to be perceived? What do you want to, what's your look? What's your look? What's your, what type of energy? Are you low key or are you high energy, or, what kind of energy, what kind of, language or the style, or what is your voice? What is your voice? And it's not just, I'm talking about the tonality. I'm talking about, your voice is really tying into that, what do you stand for? What do you stand against? And so to give you kind of an idea, to help you think deeper about this, let's think about somebody that probably everybody knows. Okay. If you don't know, I'm sure many of you on this Zoom do know. You think about Grant Cardone. We see him, on TikTok. We see him on Instagram. We see him on Facebook. You may have listened to him. And if you look at Grant Cardone, okay, without just observing him, what would be some words that you would say, that he stands for, that would articulate, what his brand is. And here's the words that I've come up with. Bold. I mean, Grant is incredibly, I think, bold. He's unbelievably confident, right? He's bold, he's confident, he's intense, right? He is a big thinker. I mean, I remember first time I saw him live, and I mean, that was essentially his entire topic was thinking big. I mean, he thinks bigger than most of us can imagine. And so thinking big, he's in shape. Another word that I, think about when I think about Grant Cardone is a big ego. I mean, the guy's got a massive ego. And so those are some words, that I came up with, right, as I think about Grant Cardone. And so then, a great exercise is writing down what are the words that you either, stand for, that kind of, gives you your identity, who you really are, what other people you think of you, or the way you want to be thought of, right? And so, I put this list together for myself. And so one of the things I talk about all the time, as I think people think about me, is consistent. I'm incredibly consistent. I'm consistent about who I am. I'm consistent in the messages that I deliver. I'm consistent in I'm just get up every day. There's nothing fancy about me. I'm consistent. I think another word that I hear from others all the time is authentic, real, right? Relatable, focused. A good thinker. I like to think of myself as a good thinker. Sometimes I think I'm an overthinker. I think about every possibility, every outcome. I think I might be thought of as a good thinker, but also probably a bit of in my own mind, I know I'm a bit of an overthinker. Trustworthy, humble, follow through. I mean, I like to feel that I follow through when I commit to something, commit to doing something for somebody, say I'm going to do something, even if I regret it, right? I follow through. So I think solid. I think that's another word that I like to think of myself as, kind of if I can do it, you can do it. I think I give across the message because there's nothing really fancy or anything about me that people can say, listen, hey, if John can do it, I can do it too. So I think that would be relatable. Fair. I think of myself very fair. I feel this way about me. I don't know if others do, but I think I'm shy, supportive, kind of quiet at times. I can be, but a lot of times good communicator, likable, a mentor. Let me see here. I avoid conflict. That's another thing that I do. I need to probably, work on that. I don't know if I want to be known for that. Approachable, inspiring, disciplined. So that's kind of, and then I think, being really honest with yourself in this area of thinking through, what do I stand for? What do I stand against? What is my style? What is my look? What's my energy? What is my voice, right? What is my voice? And then, maybe putting those words together that you think of yourself and what you think others think of you, and maybe two separate lists, and then maybe another list of what you would like more, what you'd like to do more of. How would you like to improve your brand in the way that people perceive you? Because that's what it is, right? It's the way people perceive you. So with that as kind of a drop, kind of as a kind of a jump into this whole branding thing. Let's take and open it up for some discussion. If anybody has comments on what I've just talked about, have things that they want to add to, or things that resonated with them, or if they even want to take and go through an exercise live with everybody else on here and go through this list for yourself, right? And let's see what what you stand for, what you stand against, how you see yourself, how you think others see you, and how you want to be seen, how you want to be perceived from others. So all really good stuff. So let's go ahead and open it up, see if anybody wants to jump in here and share their thoughts.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Okay. I just like to add, I really like that thought of thinking through and documenting, because what we think is not always what others think. So some suggestions, and I need to go through this exercise, so I don't have all of my answers right now, but I think there's a book out called Strength Fighters 2.0. It's Tom Rath. It's a great book to go through and identify what your strengths really are. So that might be a starting point. And we always hear about, oh, what are your weaknesses? But I've always been taught in my past life here is that you need to strengthen your strengths. You always have something to work on, but strengthen your strengths. Don't ignore it. Just make them stronger. So I think that's a good starting point to learn about yourself, at least one way. And then you might want to ask on whatever social media platform you're on, just have your audience describe you in 3 adjectives or something. I think Jessie Lee does this, Boss Lee, she does this. So, and it's a little intimidating maybe, but it's another good way, because what we might think of ourselves, again, is not always how others perceive us. And you might be pleasantly surprised. So it's not like, don't be scared to do it. I've done it and I'm going to redo it. And then write your own list down, like you said, and then marry the two, and then see where there's maybe some gaps, and then work on those gaps, who you want to be, because, it really is about how you want to be perceived, and you want your audience to really pay attention to that. So your branding, your post should also, enhance those qualities. And, it's also the foundation for those posts. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And you brought up, Jessie Lee, Boss Lee, right? I mean, her tag says it all, Boss Lee. I mean, she, as I described, what do you stand for? What do you stand against? And I gave an example of Grant Cardone, right? Bold, confident, intense, big thinker, in shape, huge ego. And, as I think about Jessie Lee, I think kind of along those, she is incredibly bold. She is incredibly confident. She is incredibly intense. She's incredibly consistent, right? In that kind of thing. But yet when you talk to her, privately, right? When you talk to her privately, she says, and she's done this publicly, she's talked about this publicly, that she is a very much of an introvert. She's very shy. She's the one that doesn't talk in a room. Now, I've been in the room with her and I've not experienced that. She's, another word I would describe her as loud, right? She has an opinion and she's going to share it, right? That would be maybe summed up by that word bold. So I think that really is just, for some of you that came on a little bit late, we're talking about branding. We're talking about, what do you stand for? What do you stand against? Really thinking that the very thought-provoking question, your look, your energy, your language, your style, your voice, how you perceive yourself. And then we talked about Grant Cardone. We just talked about Jesse Lee. The way others, that's the way I perceive Jesse Lee. That's the way I perceive Grant Cardone. Then we talked about how do we perceive ourselves and how do we think others perceive ourselves, putting that list down. But then the other list that's so important is, what else, or what do we want to be? What can we work on? You talked about your weaknesses, right? Yes, focus on your strengths. Because everybody has weaknesses, but we can improve our weaknesses if we're conscious of them, but we don't dwell on it but we can improve them, right? I look at, things I want, I'm working on it right now. I want, to be in better shape. It's one of my major goals, that I want to do, is, be in better shape. And that's going to improve a lot of other, connected areas, in my life. So anybody else want to jump in and share?
John, I'll jump in. I want to say branding is a huge thing for me because it's almost like a storefront for yourself, so you really have to bring yourself to the company because the company is based online. We don't have a storefront to go stand behind unless you have your own business that you're bringing more business to. But as for me, I'm at home doing my business, and people know me through my kindness and my outgoing, and I'm inspiring. I'm a leader. So when I do have that 9-to-5 job, when I go to work, I go to a job that already has a branding for them. People are already going to that building to go to that company to buy whatever product that I'm there standing behind the counter. So I have their brand to stand behind. And with Valentis, you don't have that brand to stand behind because you have to present yourself. And you can't always talk about Valentis and the products because people aren't going to know about that because they're coming to you first, or you're going to them first because they don't have that building to see. So branding is really, really huge for me because when I came into this business, I thought I had to figure things out through a Valentis way, and I forgot about me, and I didn't bring myself to the business, and I became a sales type person, and I became that building that everybody drives by and nobody sees unless there's an advertisement that's eye catching and they stop, or unless it's me standing out there being silly and goofy with a sign flipping it all around, then maybe it'll catch their attention. So that's bringing me to that company, bringing myself to that business. So I had to step aside and find myself again. And I realized who I am and that people loved me and they were coming to that job that I had because they loved me and they wanted to buy the products that I stood behind because I was there bringing my personality to the company and bringing everything about me to that company. So they weren't always coming there for the product. They were coming there to see me, and then the product was a bonus. So I've learned that I really have to turn back my thinking clock on jobs because it's been 6 years since I've had a job. So getting back into the job world is crazy. And so I just need to be myself. And that's what you guys need to remember is to be yourself, bring yourself and show yourself, and they will see you. And then they will want to know what's behind your counter.
I like that. What's behind your counter? Because again, people buy people, right? And so and I think one of the things that people make the mistake when they come into a business of this type is they just go crazy online with posts about the products and posts about this, and literally you drive people away. Yeah, you might find some low-hanging fruit, but it's in the other, I mean, your brand becomes that person that just constantly, I mean, don't say hi to her or she's going to jam your products down you. I mean, you don't want to be that person either. So you really got to be, you got to be you. Like you said, you got to be you, because every one of us are unique in our own way. But we can design our brand. We can design our brand of who we want to be, how we want to be perceived, what we stand for, what we really believe in, are passionate about. Right. And I think there's a balance in everything, because you can drive people away when you stand against, for something or against something too much, because we are in a people business. Right. I mean, some of these people that I mean, I have strong opinions when it comes to, some of the politics and stuff and some of the things going on in the world. But in that area, because of the business I'm in, I don't share those opinions. I don't share those thoughts. I keep, there are things, within our brand, if we're in a business that we want to attract people, that we might stand for, we might stand against, but we need to keep it to ourselves. and you might think that's not being real or authentic. No, it's, there are certain topics out there that are very, very sensitive. And people have very deep feelings. And if you feel differently, and I can think of some people that I've seen completely drive, people away from themselves, because they almost get angry or calling people stupid because they don't think the same way that they think. We all, and this is kind of in I listened to a set of tapes a long time ago. And it just popped into my mind. It was by an old football coach, a guy by the name of Lou Tice. And it's really, I think the name of the series, it was an audio cassette series called Mastering the Attitude of Achievement. But one of the major things he talked about in that set of tapes is he talked about people reacting not according to the truth as it really is, but according to the truth as they believe it or perceive it to be. Because people can have conflicting beliefs, right? Based on their experiences, based on the information that they've been given. But he also talks about how beliefs, can be changed, by learning something new or learning new information, seeing another person's point of view. But I thought it was really, really interesting the way he talked about that people react not according to the truth as it really is, but according to the truth as they believe it or perceive it to be, right? We can have conflicting beliefs. There can actually be conflicting truths. So anybody else want to jump in here and share any input or thoughts, or, maybe what they're doing that others might be able to benefit from in the area of branding?
Hey, John, can you hear me okay? Mike is Steve.
Yeah, go ahead.
Texas, how are you? So I want to talk about what I learned from back in the corporate world. I'm still in it. Actually, Patsy was talking about this book. This was given to me by my company. I'm with them 20 years. And I think there's some congruence between what I learned about branding with that small company that started 20 years or so ago. And when I came on, they're not focused on what their logo looks like, what their color scheme look like. They're focused on the software product and how it's helping the people, get technology and, serving and, connecting people in technology. And we didn't care what the logo looked like. We don't advertise, we were known for that. And I think in network marketing, people, the newbies, sometimes they're worried about, what's my color scheme? They're worried about the aesthetics. They're worried, what should my picture look like? What should my font look like? What's my color scheme? And all those things, even though, it's the first impression that your picture in TikTok and Instagram, maybe they could look the same, maybe they're the same, and that's fine for brand recognition. But really, those are kind of secondary to the core of who you are. Like what you're talking about and what Robin's talking about, your brand is your style of serving the Valentis lifestyle. If you're a foodie, how does your healthy belief with food it's in congruence and alignment with Valentis has to offer. So you got to find your buckets of your beliefs that if you're into fitness and nutrition, how does the Valentis lifestyle kind of fit into what you're preaching about fitness and nutrition? If you're into parenting, how does healthy parenting go into all of that? You've got to find your things that you could talk about for like 45 minutes, like positive things, of course. And those are what you stand for, right? Like what you said, what do you stand for? What do you believe in? What do your audience expect to hear from you? Like how do you help them without even talking about a product, just giving the health tips, whatever parenting tips, productivity tips, leadership tips. What do you stand for that is in alignment with Valentis without even mentioning it? And though that's your brand, is how you serve, which is in alignment with our mission, our health mission. So I hope that helps, John.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in here and share their thoughts or what they're doing that others might be able to benefit from when it comes to branding, developing that brand, who they are? And again, we can see someone else that we want to emulate, that we can really identify with, and you can kind of tailor yourself after that person. You can look deep within yourself to really right, who do I stand for, or what do I stand for? Looking at how you want to be perceived and how you perceive yourself, so you develop that really, really true, authentic, internal brand of who you are. But branding is not about trying to brand yourself around a product or trying to brand yourself around a company. It's you, right? People buy you, right? People buy you. And so, not that you don't want to, if you stand for health and wellness or you really believe in certain products, not that you want to leave that out. You do want to have it in. It's just that you got to balance, right? You got to balance that type of stuff, especially when you're trying to sell something. So I'm going to let one more chance here to see if anybody else wants to jump in.
Hey, John, it's Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, yeah, I guess to piggyback off of everything everybody's saying, I think for me, I guess at least my experience, branding was an important factor for me because I didn't have a big contact list coming into the industry. It was about 10 years ago, and I was a computer guy, and I did the warehouse thing, and I was a manager in a warehouse, so my circle of influence was very limited. So I wanted to make sure that I got out and got in front of the right people. Eventually, I'm building up my brand through, doing social media, showing all the events that I was going to, just being consistent with who I was, and then really showing up outside of online as the person that I wanted to be. I wanted to be professional. I wanted to, wear the nice clothes and put my best foot forward. And, it's funny now, I have people that think I'm in real estate still, that, I'm adding new people every single day, and people were like, oh, I thought you were in real estate, which good or bad. I don't know how we want to take that. But for me, I wanted to be the professional. That way I could do more of an attraction-based marketing aspect. But it does take time, John. And I think that's the big thing that I think people need to realize, that it's not going to happen overnight. It's a consistency thing. So if anybody learns anything, learn it from John. It's consistency. Just consistently show up how you want to be perceived. And eventually you'll attract the right people that you're looking to attract. And once you get into the professional realm, I believe that you can, work your way into a nice network and build an incredible team. So.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. And so, before we close out here, right, I just want to do a quick review. So as you're listening to this today, I think it's very important that, you do develop some type of a brand. Okay. How aggressive you want to be about that is obviously part of your brand and part of who you are and what you really want. But it is, I think, important for all of us in this industry, right, to build that brand. And so, to really take and write these words down and think about it and write more things down, but asking yourself the question, what do I stand for? What do I stand against, right? To take some time and really think that through. Who are you? Who are you? How do you want people to perceive you? How do you want to be known? Right? So writing that down. And if something doesn't resonate with you, let's say you have let's say someone in your upline that is branding themselves in a way that you can't see yourself branding, don't feel pressure to do that same thing, right? You need to be you. You need to be you, because people buy people, your true, authentic self. So, but we are in control of this. We are in control of who we are, what we want. What do we stand for? What do we stand against? And then, that next question, what is my look? How do I want people to, see me? What kind of energy do I want to, throw out there? Your language, your style, your voice, and then writing down that list. Again, I know I've said this 3 times already, but I'm going to say it again before we close out, so you make sure you're clear on this. But this is an incredible exercise to really help you hone in on who you are and what your brand is. Write down that list of how you perceive yourself. How do you perceive yourself? And then write down down that list of how you think others perceive you, right? But then there's that other list of how do you might have that list of how others perceive you, but how do you want others to perceive you? And is your actions in line with that to make sure that is the way people perceive you? So I think it's some great exercises to, help us hone in on this branding. So with that, we're at 30 minutes here. This, fireside chats go anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes or so, depending on, right, your engagement in the topic. But I think we got some really great points that we can work on. Remember, we're only 14 days into this brand new year. If you've stumbled, you can, they always say, what's the 2 best times to plant a tree? 20 years ago and today, right? Every day, that we stumble, that we fall short, that we, feel like, I can't do this, but tomorrow's a new day. We have, in a minute's a new minute. We can always recorrect. We can always refine. We can always just don't throw the whole day away. Don't throw the whole month away. And let's not throw the whole year away because you've messed up, right? You can start today. You know what? I'm going to recommit to that. I'm going to get those goals written down. I'm going to take and really figure out, who am I? Who am I? What do I stand for? What do I stand against? How do I want to be perceived? How do I perceive myself? So great stuff, I think, guys. And so with that, we'll talk to you Monday with our opportunity Zoom. And of course, this next Friday again as well. I'll have another great topic of discussion. So with that, have a great day, everybody. And